It's yet another edition of Fan Friday for Locked On Coyotes. We're going to talk with yet another Locked On Coyotes listener and fan to pick their brain about Arizona Coyotes news and rumors. That all in today's episode.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Robyn Leonio. That's Carl Pavlak right beside me. On today's episode of Locked On Coyotes, we want to thank everyone for making this show your first listen every day. We are absolutely 100% free and available on all platforms, which means you'll never, ever have a paywall to ever access our content. We got a great show for you guys today. It is another edition of Locked On Coyotes Fan Friday, introducing our guest for today's show, Sterling Beaucage. Sterling, welcome to the show. It's good to have you on.
Hello. Thank you for having me, guys. Really appreciate the opportunity.
How you doing today?
Good. Excited.
That's good.
A little nervous,
That's good
but
to hear.
excited.
No, don't be. I think you'll be absolutely great. Well, all we got to do, we're going to start things off. It's get to know you as a fan. You're an Arizona Coyotes fan. How did you become a fan? To start off with, I guess.
So I'm not from a hockey family. I grew up baseball fan my whole life. I got into hockey myself accidentally finding the Bruins on the local TV channel, and the Bruins got knocked out of the playoffs pretty early. So I said, no, you know what? Let me find a Western Conference team to like. And that year it was actually 2011-2012 season, which was, I guess, a pretty good season to start watching. But the Coyotes were still in the playoffs, and I couldn't choose a team in the same conference. So I wanted a Western Conference team. And I was like, oh, the logo's pretty cool. Then I started watching the team, and it caught on. And ever since then, I followed them pretty closely. So,
All right. So just to be clear, you wanted a team to follow because the Bruins get knocked out of the playoffs early. And the 1 year you had this thought, the Arizona Coyotes make it past the first round.
That
right. Is, I can only imagine how disappointing that is. Because, your very reason for being a fan is, instantly removed for the rest of time.
I said I'll pick them. I'll stick with it. If they suck after this, I'll still follow them. I ended up buying NHL TV every season after that just to watch the Arizona games and the Arizona feed. And here we are now, and it's so exciting to be a fan now, on the upswing of things. Even in 2014, 2015, I thought it was pretty exciting still. Or maybe 2015, 2016. I forget, the years kind of all blend in now. But when they got Duclair and Domi, I was really into it, and well, here we are now.
So obviously, you mentioned yourself being a, growing up, or having seen the Boston Bruins a lot more to start off with, and that you got NHL TV to watch, the Coyotes Out of Market. So obviously, because the listeners here are able to figure out, well, yeah, you're not from here in Arizona either. So we have another another fan on the podcast who is a fan of the Coyotes who is not from here, which we love promoting because it's more than just local.
Right. And Rhode Island, I take a lot of heat for being a Coyotes fan. I'm always defending them left and right nonstop. So
yeah, that is definitely a rough state, especially, well, I can only attest from being here and knowing the people from the Northeast who come to Arizona. Usually not the most respectful of Arizona hockey traditions. And, I can understand that.
Right. I wore a Coyotes jersey to a Bruins game, the game I went to last season, and I took a lot of heat for that. But I make the joke. I have 40 other games to wear a Bruins jersey. That's the one game, that because they do one home and home. So I was like, that's the one game I get to support the Coyotes publicly. So
I mean, honestly, that is the reverse for a lot of people at Gila River Arena. I don't know if you've ever been to a game there, but frequently you will see someone who is like in their 60s or 40s and they grew up somewhere else and like, I have one game a year, or, depending on what, because we get a lot of Chicago Blackhawks fans, it's more than one. Like, I have a couple games a year where I wear this jersey. Every other time I wear a Coyotes jersey. So it's
Right.
crazy that kind of is the opposite way in other states.
Right.
Absolutely. Let's also get to a couple other things on this show, and I think the one thing that we probably like that is definitely to be addressed is staying loyal. Obviously, you said that, like you said, you would stay loyal, but especially through a year like this last year, right? Because this was probably one of the most brutal years to be a Coyotes fan, because they just were at consistently at the bottom, consistently collapsing and losing games. So what are some of the things that you had in mind, like that you've kept in mind to kind of like get yourself through this season?
I think just I kind of like taking the heat for it. So every time there'd be a highlight or they'd actually win, I always get to use that, say, haha, look what happened last night. Or I think just overall, like, they didn't win a lot. What was it, like 25, 21, something like that? 20 to 25 games, I think it was. So every time they didn't win, it made it a little bit more special, so.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so they did win 25 games, 25-57. Nice.
What was the total points? Yeah, so
57 points.
57 points, which
It
is
was a rough year, but it was still exciting for other reasons. We got to see Vamelka and Keller really emerge, and just little things like that really made it exciting still.
seeing Keller emerge was huge, right? Because like he did not have a great last couple years, and there was question marks of whether or not he had a future with the franchise, and then all of a sudden, like a star comes out. He's like, oh yeah, this guy's good.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you watch the Tempe City Council meeting at all?
So I did. I watched most of it, but I was actually at my fire station, and we got a couple calls in between. So I had to pause it a couple times, but I watched most of it, and the guys I work with, we all sleep in the same like room. They were all sleeping in their own beds, and I had earphones and like AirPods to listen to it till whatever time it was on the East Coast, 1:30 in the morning or something like that.
Yeah. That's insane that you were watching that late on the East Coast. But did you get a chance to see Keller speak to the council?
I did not. So that was most of our calls were early on in it. So I didn't get to see the when Keller, Smoltz, or Fisher went up.
I think you and a few other fans that are familiar with this podcast say that they missed that part. There are a few of us that did, and we rightfully went to go heckle some fans who really love Clayton Keller. But
Right.
Yeah, it was good. I do recommend you check it out. I'm sure it's posted on Twitter everywhere now. Keller's not going to be doing a lot of public speeches anytime soon, but it's great that he's standing up for his team, and seeing him emerge as a star, like both on and off the ice, was great to watch this year.
I think it speaks volumes that they would go out on their own time, go out of their way to attend the meeting and talk.
As I said afterwards, I do remember going to Glendale City Council meetings in the early aughts, so like 2012, 2013, and players didn't speak then. They showed up at the meetings, but they didn't speak, and it does speak, like you said, volumes that they went up and did that. Now it shows a real commitment.
Anyways, we're talking of Sterling Beaucage on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. We're going to continue this episode in just a moment. We're going to pick his brain on some other Coyotes news and Coyotes rumors and such like that. Before we get into any more, though, I'd have to turn to Carl for a quick word.
So I have a message from our friends who brought you Healthy and Tasty, and they give you the latest gift for your taste buds. You've probably tried the amazing coconut brownie chunk Built Bar, but guess what? There is now the coconut brownie chunk puff. That's right, the coconut brownie chunk Built Bar, the one that you love. It's very delicious. It's covered in 100% real chocolate. It's now fluffy in the center, and you still get all of that coconut brownie goodness. The great thing about Built Bars is that they are really tasty and really healthy for you. High in protein, low in fat. What I want you to do is go to built.com and use the promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com.
Which NFL stars move the betting line the most? Starting this week, Locked On gives you the 50 most valuable players in the NFL from the odds makers at Bet Online. Available this week on Locked On NFL, wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube. But let's continue this episode. We're talking of Sterling, a fan of the podcast, fan of the Arizona Coyotes, taking to pick his brain about a few things. And I think one thing that we'll probably go for is kind of the go similar to what Carl was talking about with the city council meeting. What are your thoughts about the Coyotes playing at ASU next year in the next few years? Because there are various different thoughts from a lot of different people.
I think it has the potential to be pretty exciting. I never once was against the idea. I thought as long as they stayed in Arizona, who really cares what they're playing in? I've never seen anything like it, so I'm intrigued to see. I know they're saying like the atmosphere is really going to be loud, and as we know, the attendance has been great at other arenas. So I'm really looking forward to, I can't be there in person, but watching the games and hearing how loud and seeing all the fans, and I think they're going to do just fine. I think, especially being at ASU campus, the college kids are going to want something to do on, a weekday or whatever, or a weekend, and so I don't think it's going to be a problem. I'm pretty excited for it.
Especially because I think, Carla, I'm not sure if you know the exact details, but I think they're setting aside 500 to 600 seats for students.
Yeah, I don't know the exact details, but they are setting aside student seating. And I went to ASU for 5 years. It was a very fun time. 3 of those years were at the main Tempe campus. And ASU students love to do things, especially on weekends, especially if there is alcohol involved. So it seems like it would be just a phenomenal environment. I like I said, I went to ASU though, so I'm biased. I cannot have an objective opinion about that.
I mean, I guess I then on one side is I can because I went to the other Arizona school, but
No, you don't have an objective opinion for a different reason.
yeah, that's true.
And they're not
But
just putting it at some school; it's ASU. So, it's not just a college that doesn't have, or a university um, that doesn't have a hockey team. Their hockey team's really good, from my understanding. Right? I don't really follow college or anything really underneath that.
before the pandemic, they were pretty close to being frozen four caliber.
Yeah,
Okay.
they haven't like achieved like anything major yet. Like they haven't won it all, but they are building extremely fast for a team that I remember going to see games before the lockout, and they weren't even NCAA. They were like amateur hockey. Like no one was able to get scholarships, so it's phenomenal to see that program. And ASU just in general, they know how to build stuff. They have a whole school for building stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, it's gonna be cool to see, see the Coyotes there though. I'm curious to see just overall how the atmosphere goes. I'm like, and it's fun. It's funny because there are so many people that talk trash about it, right? They're less like, oh yeah, they're playing in a high school gym or whatever. Um, but and it's like, oh, no player is going to want to play there. But if you ask, if you like it, based off of what it sounds like, if you ask certain players, a lot of them don't really care where they're playing. They just want to play.
Right. That's what I've been seeing too, and I think it's going to be electrifying. They're going to hear the crowd. They're gonna see the fans, and they're gonna, again, most importantly, they have a place to play. So
Absolutely. Another thing that we want to address is let's go to the NHL Draft recently. The Coyotes picking 3 players in the first round. Your thoughts on their performance in the draft? Because there are interesting enough, a lot of reporters have ranked the Coyotes as low as like a C to like as high as like an A. Where do you stand on this?
so it looks like they got pretty low ratings at first, like you said, and I think as after development camp, I think some people have changed their opinions for the better. I wasn't. I didn't think anything bad of it. I think Cooley was the guy we all kind of were looking forward to all season. Or kind of, it was Shane Wright, but once we got number 3, we kind of expected it to go to Cooley. So after that, we got our guy, we got Cooley, so it was pretty exciting. I like how we moved up to number 11 for Geeky. It's nice that he signed his ELC. I'm excited to see him play in where is it, Winnipeg? He's back with Winnipeg, right? The Ice.
Yep.
And I don't know too much about Maverick other than his smile, like everybody says. But I think he has the potential. I think once he gets his skating game and just bigger in size, because he's such a tall, skinny kid. I think he has the potential to be a really good player, but I don't think he's anywhere close just yet.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with all of that for your assessments. Were you really surprised that the team went with Cooley over Wright? Do you think that they should have gone with Shane Wright? Not to throw you on blast. I don't mean to.
I was in total shock that he didn't go number 1. And then I wasn't really in shock when he didn't go number 2 because we were kind of expecting New Jersey to pick a defenseman, so that wasn't really. And then I think I was screaming through text that we're gonna get Shane Wright, after not expecting it, and then we got Cooley, and I'm excited after everything that's gone out. I think I'd rather have Cooley, but I don't think it's a bad thing that we didn't choose Shane Wright. I think there's something there. There's a reason why he wasn't taken. I don't know if it's because of the whole interviews or if he comes off a certain way, but Cooley, from his interviews, he seems like he's gonna want to be here, and I think that's most important. You don't want somebody that, oh, I got drafted, I have to go because I was drafted. You want somebody that is excited to play here. So
Yeah, and that's one of the things that people talked about for Shane, right? Like afterwards, like a couple weeks later, and NHL teams were like, it's like, yeah, we didn't like his interviews. Shane Wright kind of didn't give off the right vibes, and that's why he fell. I'm like, oh, okay.
I do think if you look at the players that Bill Armstrong drafted, so many of them brought up the fact that they are happy to be in Arizona. I think that was definitely something that the team was looking for, a commitment to, either the team or the rebuild or the future, something. They just wanted that commitment.
Did you see that Geeky, when he signed his EOC, obviously there was a little press conference going on with that he was like, oh, I've been enjoying the weather. He's like, dude, it's 115 degrees outside. You're actually enjoying it? Okay. I'm not gonna shame you for it, but good on you.
right.
The kid's used to Winnipeg. I don't know if you've been to Winnipeg. I haven't, but I hear it's just a cold wasteland. And Arizona is so different that I came from a cold wasteland. I can appreciate that whole oh wow, it's hot, but it's a different thing that I'm used to. So I love it. And like we said earlier, it's a dry heat.
Right.
The dry heat. Gotta love it. I mean, like,
I've
yeah,
been
that's
I've been
true.
twice and I didn't want to leave. I've hiked the Grand Canyon top to bottom, camped at the bottom for a week at a time, and I love it. I love the heat down there. It's great. I didn't want to go home each time.
I got to come when I was 12, and then my parents decided, all right, we're not going to go back home. This is new home. So I can appreciate that. And I've never done that canyon hike, but it seems intense. So kudos to you.
Yeah, the trails are well marked. It's not too bad. You guys stay hydrated, but it's not terrible.
Yeah, I mean, that's a place I haven't got a chance to check out yet. I've been living in Arizona for 7 years, but southern Arizona haven't traveled much north, so I need to do more of that.
Here's a fun thing that happens when you move to Arizona when you're a teenager. All your family comes to visit you, and they all want to go see the Grand Canyon, and your parents don't want you to be bored, so they start taking you to a lot of different ways to see the Grand Canyon. So I have helicoptered over the Grand Canyon. I have driven up to the Grand Canyon 3 times. I have taken a train up to the Grand Canyon. I have not ridden down on donkeys yet, but I have just experienced the Grand Canyon in so many ways, all before they invented that like glass walkway that's really cool and a thing I would actually want to do. I had to take a train to the Grand Canyon as a 16-year-old. It was the most excruciating thing I've ever done.
How was it by helicopter? That sounds awesome.
Helicopter is amazing. If you can helicopter over the Grand Canyon, it's really fun.
I think that's one of the options if you've ever visit Vegas.
I think I've also helicoptered over Vegas. I think my parents were very big into helicoptering in the early aughts.
I mean, I hear it's cool. I've never helicoptered, so I can't really say much, but that sounds fun. Anyways, though, let's go ahead and move on, though, and talk about, I guess, one other thing, and I guess go to a rumor on this one. And obviously, the news came out earlier this week that Matthewchuk is rejecting his potential deal with long-term extension with the Calgary Flames, and is looking to get traded. Will likely get traded. And apparently, one of the potential destinations that some people are highlighting is Arizona. Carl, you have the tweet, and then we can discuss.
So I'm not sure if I would call it a rumor, but Jesse Pollock of TSN Sports and Bar Down tweeted earlier today, "Am I nuts to say the Coyotes should make a serious move for Tkachuk? Management needs to show their fans that they're taking things seriously. They have cap space and good prospects. He was also born in Arizona. Give him the C and build around him."
That's bold, right?
That is a scorching hot take from a Canadian journalist who I would say does not really seem to understand what the Coyotes are doing right now or where they're at. I guess you could make the argument that, hey, there is something to build around like a player like Tkachuk, but I don't know, like, what do you two think? Do you think this would be something Bill Armstrong would consider?
That's a tough call. It's a really tough call because like Tkachuk has like a physical demeanor to him. He's got skill, but he's also pretty damn physical, and that kind of fits a little bit what Armstrong wants.
He is a very Bill Armstrong player. I will give him that.
He is a very Bill Armstrong player, and of course, there is that idea of him being born in Arizona. He didn't grow up in Arizona. He grew up, I believe, in St. Louis. So, like,
that sounds right. Yeah.
So, like, you can't call him an Arizona kid. So, like, it's not like he's coming home. He didn't really, he didn't really know what it was like to be in Arizona. So, like, that I don't it's not that I don't really get that sentiment. Plus the Coyotes wouldn't really want to pay. Like, I'm not sure if the Coyotes would be willing to pay him that much money because he was like, okay, in a few years down the road, you're gonna have to worry about X amount of other contracts, right? Because right now they have very few contracts to already work with as it is. Last thing you want to do is put a big dollar value on a kid that who knows if he wants to be in Arizona for.
I like the idea of it. I think the tweet has. I think the tweet is has the wrong intentions or the wrong reasons there, but I like the overall idea. Um, I would think it would be very bold to say give him the seed and build around him. I think he is a very Bill Armstrong type player, and I wish this was maybe the end of next season or the season after that because I think they would be interested. But now, just where they're at, still kind of accepting the fact that they're in the rebuild, and Bill Armstrong said it himself. They're not going to be good. They're not expecting to be good for another 2, 3, 4 years. And so I clearly the tweet is wrong with saying like, oh, management needs to show that they're being serious. They know what they want to do, and it's just going to take time.
See, I
But
think yeah, I'm totally with you on that because I think the issue of a lot of people, a lot of you know major market hockey fans is they don't understand that rebuilds take time. That yeah, it takes patience. Or there are some people that like literally like who have teams in which like their rebuilds are fast because they want to kickstart because they're like what let's let's get the core pieces we want. It's like, all right, now we got our draft pieces. Now let's freaking ramp it up. The Coyotes are literally going ground up, which is gonna take time.
Well, there was a athletic article I think a couple weeks ago that said the Chicago Blackhawks are tanking and they're one of the few teams that could do it, or something along those lines, where it's like they're describing this plan with like, look, the Blackhawks are going to be bad for a couple years, but they are fine doing that because they have all this original six stuff. And it's like, no, like a lot of small market teams also do like major ground up rebuilds, and the Coyotes are doing it. And I think the fans realize it, even if, some reporters don't think that we realize it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be interesting to see how it goes, but yeah, like I said, the like people tend to get the wrong intention of what the Coyotes are doing, right? Because again, like they're not like this is not the kind of team that wants to speed up, try to speed up the rebuild. They kind of made somewhat of issues with that in the past. Not really by trying to get for major assets. I guess in some ways for some major assets, but it was mainly tried to rush a lot of their prospects to try to rush their rebuild in the past.
Well, I will say that many Coyotes fans pointed out that this has shocking similarities to the Coyotes acquiring Taylor Hall. So I'm
so
not sure if it's there, but yeah, there are similarities.
say if they do want to do it, what do you give up? You're going to give up a first round pick. And obviously, the Coyotes want their first round picks for the next year or two. So
Yeah.
just that alone, you might be able to build something or build up something with maybe Chikrin if he still wants out. If the package is there, maybe Kachuk's that right player for him. But other than that, there's going to be a lot of draft picks and some top prospects that we've drafted that I don't think Bill Armstrong's going to want to give up anytime soon.
I mean, if you're gonna go the first round, like if you are gonna go the first round pick route, um, you can put a conditional of like would be like conditional this year and next year, which would be just like top 10 protected,
Right.
and that way like if like the Coyotes are still tanking at the end of this next year, and then they happen to get a good enough pick, maybe even a pick that can get them Connor Bedard, which would be one, then yeah, you make sure that's protected and take it, and that's because Connor Bedard will push you into into the next part of the rebuild almost instantly.
Yeah, definitely
Right.
more than Tkachuk would. Not saying like Tkachuk's not a good player or he can't push a team to a next level. He's just I don't think he's the player that the Coyotes would build around. I honestly think that putting the C on Clayton Keller makes more sense at this point.
Just not this upcoming year.
Yeah, maybe not this year.
Right. It makes you wonder though what's going on in Calgary with players not want to re-sign. There's going to be something going on.
I feel
And
like
it's almost Vegas-like.
Yeah. I feel like there's that issue of Calgary, and I feel like it's not surprising to me because like you've seen issues with the management and like ownership in the past, right? The fact that they kind of gave the city of Calgary the middle finger when it's like, oh, we want you to pay for our new arena, and said, all right, the no deal then kind of issue. Like this, the writing was on the wall, just seeing how management was just going.
And I do think the Flames were kind of a paper tiger. Like I feel the same way about the Jets a couple years ago. They kind of get heralded as like the next team, but they could win a division, but they can't do much in the playoffs, and they weren't going to be able to make those next steps to do it. And players are realizing that early and just jumping ship.
Right. I agree with that.
Anyways, though, we are running out of time for this episode. We're right around our limit for this, so we'll just spend the last couple minutes, Sterling, allowing you to give you the open mic. Let any of our listeners know what you got going for you and anything that you'd like to share, and how people can follow you too.
Yeah, not much. I mean, I'm really excited for this next season coming up. I think we're going to be better than last season. I think we're already better than last season with development and even some of the signings that you guys talked about in previous episodes. I think we're a little bit of a better team. I don't think we're, not top 15, not top 20, but I don't know if we're going to be dead last. So I am excited for it. As for following, I'm not too much on social media. I follow you guys on Twitter. I don't even know my Twitter handle. I think it's Thur524. I'm not really sure, but yeah.
That's fine. Avoiding social media is something that I would pay to do at this point in my life.
When it comes necessary, yeah, it drives your brain crazy. That's for damn sure.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
I
it.
will be going to the Bruins home openers against the Coyotes, so that works out for me. So I'll be going to that game. I'll take a lot of photos for you guys.
That's cool. Hope you enjoy it.
Thank you.
Absolutely, and thanks a bunch for coming on. We really absolutely appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Anyways, that's it for today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you've yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes. On Instagram at Locked On Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn_Leano. Carl Pavlak is Carl Pavlak FFH. Interact with us, ask a question you might have. We might answer right back, or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you're staying safe out there. Hope you're staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.